felt like this before. You make me feel the way I ain't feel in a minute. I feel like I'm living when I'm looking at you, baby. Never felt like this before.
Hey X-Dancers, Anthony and Rose. Today we're going to teach you guys a little secret that really only the pros know. So if you've tried West Coast Swing and it's been very, very difficult for you, chances are you were probably taught patterns and steps and all that stuff, and you never really learned how it works. So today we're going to teach you guys the secret of how it works. So again, if you struggled with it, today we're covering 8-count patterns. There are 6-count patterns and there are 8-count patterns. Today we're really breaking down the 8-count patterns. Now if you've ever tried this before and it didn't work for you, probably not your fault, okay? So what we're gonna do is make that much simpler for you guys, so stick around. All right, so we have 6-count patterns and 8-count patterns in West Coast Swing. So this video is gonna cover the 8-count patterns. Some of the common 8-count patterns are gonna be whip patterns and so on and so forth. Now if you've not watched the 6-count pattern secret to West Coast Swing, we're going to include a link here, so be sure to watch that one also, maybe even watch that one first. But we're going to give you an overall view between the 6 and the 8-count pattern. So in a 6-count pattern, she starts on this side of what we call the slot. She goes to the other side of the slot. Now my job is to go side to side and choose how to lead her from one side of this slot to the next. Okay, so that's a 6-count pattern. 6-count pattern, it takes her about 6 counts to get from one side of the slot to the next. With an 8-count pattern, she starts on one side of the slot, she goes to the other side, but then I send her back. So again, this is gonna be 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, right? So there's several different 8-count patterns, lots of ways we can do that. But what we're gonna do today is teach you guys the secret of what that structure is like what lies beneath the 8-count pattern, so you know what to expect as a follower and what to lead her section by section in for an 8-count pattern. So as we talked about in the 6-count pattern video, there are, we talked about these circles, okay? So she has this circle over here, and there's another circle over there, and her travel goes from that circle to that circle. And again, we're gonna say these are pink circles because she's a pretty, delicate lady and all that stuff. But she goes from this circle to that circle, and in a 6-count pattern, she goes from that circle over to the other one, right? And in an 8-count pattern, she goes from that circle to that one, and then we'll send her back. That's really her trajectory as she goes. And then guys, you have, as a leader, you have 3 circles, blue circles, right? So we have one blue circle in between her 2 pink circles. We have one on this side, and we have another one over there. And we're just gonna move from one circle to the next. So in an 8-count pattern, for example, I might go to this side circle, all the way to the other side, and then step back into the center. So we have these 3 circles. So now, let's talk a little bit about the count first. If you've not done 8-count patterns, we need to break down these counts. So we're gonna think about it as walk, walk, triple step, walk, walk, triple step, okay? So each one of those sections, walk, walk is 2 beats of music, triple step, 2 beats of music, walk, walk, 2 beats of music, and triple step is 2 beats of music. So we're gonna have walk, walk, triple step, walk, walk, triple step. That's your basic rhythm. It doesn't always have to be that way. But the point is that you have 4 sections of 2 beats of music. So instead of thinking of this as 8 beats of music, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, we're again, just like the 6-count video, we're gonna break that down into 4 sections of 2 beats of music. So what we have to know in each one of those 4 sections is, what are we doing? What are we trying to achieve? What is our intention? What is the thing that we're trying to get done in that section of 2 beats of music, okay? So we're now gonna break down the 4 sections so you know what they are, and then later on, promise you this, any pattern you've learned in West Coast Swing that is 8 beats of music or an 8-count pattern will fall into these 4 sections of 2 beats of music, so you know what you're supposed to be doing during those 2 counts, all right? Just like the 6-count pattern, the first 2 beats of every pattern, she starts traveling towards me. So we're doing what's called a whip pattern, but she is going to come towards me for 1, 2. She starts traveling down the slot. Now it doesn't matter what the variation or pattern is. For the first 2 beats of every 8-count pattern, we assume her intention is to start coming towards me. So I've got to lead her towards me. Now, just like the 6-count pattern for the leaders, this is her slot. She's going to be traveling forward and back along the slot. So my job is to get the heck out of her way and allow her to pass through the slot. She's not going to move around me. So if you watch my footwork, and there's a bunch of different ways you can do this, the idea of section 1 is to get the heck out of her way, right? So we're going to start her moving, and we're going to get out of her way. And there's several different ways we can do this, guys. Some guys step back and then they cross. You know, other guys, I tend to step at an angle and then bring the feet together. Don't really care. The intention is, this is her slot. Section 1, she comes towards me, and I get the heck out of her way. All right, so now section 2, this is where it's going to get different between a 6 count and 8 count pattern. In a 6 count pattern, she does the variation. In an 8 count pattern, she comes back. So what she's doing, she's going from here in this circle, she goes to the other side for the other circle, but the end of section 2, she starts to move back from whence she came.
Wow, so fancy. Yeah. That's how you talk.
That's West Coast swing in the Game of Thrones, is what we're saying. So she's coming towards me for the first 2 beats, 1, 2. And then at this point for section 2, she goes 3 and she starts coming back for 4. Now we're going to produce another video on this, and if you haven't subscribed or followed this channel yet, be sure to do that so you get the notifications for when this video, but the idea is how does she know whether that's a 6 count pattern or an 8 count pattern, right? That's a really important thing, completely different topic of what we're talking about now, but really, really good one for you to know, all right? It's because the rhythms for counts, for section 1 and count 2 are still the same, walk, walk, and triple step. But in an 8 count pattern, she comes towards me, that's section 1. Then she starts to come back. And of course, I'm going to lead that. Section 3 of an 8 count pattern is the variation. This is where the stuff happens. Something happens, right? And just like a 6 count pattern, the last 2 beats of music are an anchor in place or stretch, okay? So here's your section. I'm going to break this down, and then we're going to show you how this works. But she has come towards me, come back, variation, anchor. Do that again. She comes towards me, I start bringing her back, variation, and anchor. Now you'll notice Rose is kind of moving forward and back along the slot, and I'm getting the heck out of her way, kind of moving side to side. She got a pink circle, 3 blue circles, all right? She comes towards me, I bring her back, there's the variation, and there's the anchor, all right? So, if we said it's come towards me, come back, variation, anchor, it's kind of like I started moving, I stop her, nope, you're coming back, that's section 2, and then something happens, and then we anchor, okay?
What happens?
I don't know. So, come towards me, come back, variation, anchor. Now let me show you here's what you have to know as a leader and follower. It's always going to be come towards me for section 1 of an 8 count pattern. Section 2 is always going to be come back. Section 3, something happens, all right? This is the stuff, okay? So if you're going to lead something, we're going to initiate it, we're going to lead it in that second set of walk, walk, all right? Now if you know that as a follower, come towards him, come back, oh, he's leading some stuff, and then we anchor. Leaders, followers, you don't have to think about this as 8 counts and all this stuff's happening, because what happens if you think about it that way, what happens is like, oh, I got to learn this 8 count pattern, this other one, oh, and all these things happen. This is really simplifying the process. And if you've tried West Coast swing before and you've tried 8 count patterns and it's not really clicking, working, well, how do I know, like, you know, how do I follow that? How do I lead that? Chances are you're thinking about that big mess of stuff, right? And instead, the thing that is the variation, the thing that changes, section 3, it's that second walk, walk. So let me show you. So here's what we did, a basic whip. She comes towards me, she comes back, here's a variation, here's an anchor. Now watch this. She comes towards me, she comes back, there's an underarm turn, and there's an anchor. She comes towards me, she comes back, an outside turn, and an anchor. She comes towards me, she comes back, behind the back hand change, and anchor. Now everything that is done in sections of 8 is going to have that structure, whether it's a whip pattern or not. So I'll give you another example. She comes towards me, she comes back, variation, and anchor, right? Show you another one. She comes towards me, she comes back, variation, anchor. right? So you've got, she starts over here, she goes to the other side, she starts coming back on count 4, something happens, anchor in place, right? It's really not as complicated as people make it sound. Like you got to learn all these patterns, and they come up with like a step list or check, like you got to learn step 1, 2, and 3, and then we cover this, and then you go to all these classes and stuff to learn all these patterns. But really what they're doing is recycling the same ideas and concepts over and over and just showing you a different way to change hands or different 2-count variations as opposed to learning 8-count variations, okay? So the idea is, says count pattern, again, if you haven't watched that video, watch that. It's come towards me, there's the variation, there's the anchor. 8-count pattern, she comes towards me, she comes back, there's your variation, and there's your anchor. And I hope that has really been helpful for you. If you guys have questions, I mean, you say, that dude is totally wrong. He doesn't have any idea what he's talking about. Just write that down below. We'd love to find out what the questions are and what you guys would like to see. So I hope that's been helpful for you guys, and we'll see you guys next time.